Listen. Welcome to the LME live streams where we pretty much just put everything on Letterbox we've been catching throughout this past week. I am joined today. Zach is back. How you doing, Zach?
Yo, pretty good, pretty good. Glad to be back on the live streams talking movies with you.
Now, if you haven't been part of these, pretty much we just talk about the movies that have come out throughout the week. It is a perfect way for me to log everything that I need to on Letterbox, the new IMDb, the thing where you can pretty much just make all the lists and rankings that you want on stuff. This past week has been pretty busy because we have been doing a lot of the film festival stuff, which I mentioned last week. It's not up in the description right now because it's all jacked up. I couldn't get it. I don't know. The live streams weren't working as well today, but to show you the
YouTube
list that I
tried
have.
to contain us.
You know, but they cannot, and we will not stop it. I have a list right here of all the virtual stuff that I've been watching. I haven't logged everything as of yet, but for the most part, I don't know about you, Zach, but I've been seeing a bunch of great movies. We had a little bit of a drought, but I saw 35 movies this past week. Some of those bad boys are 2 hours. This one right here, which I might even have higher now that I finished all the episodes, including the extra one. This totaled past 6 hours. That still doesn't include all the shorts that we've seen, also, and it's just week one.
Yeah. I mean, there's still more and more film festivals out there, and plus all these movies are eventually going to come out. We think,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
I
a
mean,
lot of them are trying to vie for Oscars in 2020 or other awards, so we'll be seeing some of them soon.
I know that they have a lot of these coming out, if not at the beginning. Well, actually, the ending, but I know the beginning now counts as well because the Oscars kind of shifted their timeline, and they're going to include January and they're going to include February. So I don't know how many are going to come out during that time, but I would highly recommend a lot of the film festivals that I'm mentioning here. Chicago just ended, but Philly is in full run. You can get a pass for like $100 and watch a lot of these movies. It's been really cool. Each one does it a little bit differently, but I like how Philly, each movie just unlocks every time. Like, we're recording right now because I just finished watching a movie, and as soon as it unlocks, like, you get to watch it. Some of them are on demand, but the virtual fest has been pretty cool, and I just want to make sure that it's on your radar again. I'm going to update all the links down below as well to make sure that you guys have the links to go to some of these film festivals. The movies are really running only like 10, $12 as well. You get to see them early. You get to talk about them. And log them over here on Letterbox as well. I'm gonna try to also get up the live chat. As you can see, it's kind of missing there, but we see you guys. We see you guys. Shout out to everybody who's watching in the live chat as well. I'm gonna try to boot it up in a little bit, but let me start logging in some of the stuff that I've seen this past week. Zach, you have Hulu.
Yeah. Sorry?
You have Hulu. Have
I do have Hulu.
you seen this movie called John Bronco?
Not yet. Tell me about it.
Well, it's a short, actually. So John Bronco was supposed to be like the most incredible, legendary commercial man, and he's played by Walton Goggins, and it's pretty much this like pseudo documentary about him that was made. They just uploaded it to Hulu, and I needed something to watch that wasn't a festival thing, but that also wasn't going to be 2 hours long like Witches, or I really wanted to sit down and enjoy Over the Moon. John Bronco was like 30 something minutes long. I decided to catch it, and like I said, he's playing this fictional character who gets interwoven with a bunch of other like really famous people, really famous characters, actors, legends of their own right. Like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is in the movie, and he is one of the people who's like, "Oh, I made some good commercials, but John Bronco, the man, made some incredible stuff." He was just the pitchman for the Ford Bronco. That's it. But it's a nice little like. I thought it was kind of funny. It's not like hysterical, but I thought it was decent enough just to log over here. It comes from Jake Szymanski. He did Mike and Dave.
Oh,
He did
okay.
some stuff with John Mulaney. So he's done some stuff here and there.
Yeah,
Not all the
veteran
jokes hit.
comedy director.
Yeah, not all the jokes hit, but nonetheless, I thought it was a short that's up on Hulu that I think is worth mentioning. Because I've stated it before, when we watch a lot of these stuff over on the film festivals that are shorts, what sucks the most is that you never know when people are going to get the chance to see it again. You know?
Right. Yeah,
But
there's still movies from Sundance that we've seen that we have no idea when the public will get a chance to see.
yeah,
So
and those are
luckily,
features. The shorts, gone.
yeah, exactly.
I need you to talk about American Utopia.
I mean, where do we start? I mean, there's so much to talk about with American Utopia. It's the latest filmed concert that is actually directed by Spike Lee. So we've
Yes,
got
sir.
two Spike Lee movies in 2020. It's not the first time he's done a live concert or live Broadway show. I'm a big fan of his adaptation of Passing Strange from last decade. But this is also interesting because in teaming up with David Byrne, Spike Lee is filming the band that was or at least the leading man for the band that was at the center of maybe the most iconic music documentary of all time, concert film of all times, Stop Making Sense, directed by Jonathan Demme. So there's just like a showmanship to David Byrne in the way that he put together a concert, and even just the little bits of patter in between songs are strangely profound and interestingly observed. And Spike Lee brings it together in a dynamic way. I thought it was a really riveting movie, a really great concert film, just a really wonderful experience for those of us who weren't able to travel to Broadway to watch the American Utopia show.
There's been a lot of these where you don't need to go to Broadway anymore. You could just wait a couple of weeks, and the new Springsteen doc is going to be recorded with all the camera angles all chopped up for you. I knew nothing about this at all other than I played at some film festival, so it took me like 40 minutes to catch on what was happening. But it's beautifully captured. Like,
Yeah.
uh, that's become like one of the biggest things. Not just Spike, but I know Martin Scorsese's always filming stuff, documentaries in between his actual feature films. We've had a whole wave of like Bo Burnham directed a stand up special. You're starting to get a bunch of like directors coming in and being able to record these live stage plays. Um, it was interesting. I don't know much about David Byrne. This was like my first introduction to the man, but yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also pretty visually compelling movie, or concert film. Some of the stuff they do with the lighting, I forget which song it is, where they have those big shadows in the background, and also there's that really amazing sequence towards the end where they cover Janelle Monáe's "Hell You Tell 'Em About," which
Hmm.
I think you can tell just from the way it's put together that one has a lot of Spike Lee visual energy in that. The insert shots in particular are very Spike Lee.
I was listening to some interviews that both of them had that were up on YouTube, and they were going at it. They had a pretty good discussion. One of the other ones, I don't. I think you said you haven't seen this yet, Rebecca. I'm gonna mention it here
No.
just to get some thoughts out on it. Um, just watch the
Yes.
OG. Watch the one that had
Right.
broken the records for the Oscars. Uh, I don't know. It wasn't for me. But
I
I'm
mean,
gonna be
it's
on.
tough when you're adapting a movie that Alfred Hitchcock made. Like
You know,
you're not taking like a mediocre movie. You're taking one of the greats.
yeah.
Uh,
And
but
it's
you
great.
weren't so much a fan of Ben Wheatley's version.
See, when I hear Ben Wheatley, right, I'm thinking Kill List. I'm thinking all the movies that people were
High
recommending
Rise,
to you, back in
Free
the day where they're
Fire.
like, oh, you got to get on this Ben Wheatley stuff over here. I wasn't thinking Rebecca. I wasn't. um,
Yeah.
there is some interesting stuff in there. Like, there's a whole aspect of like possession and the fact that like she is hired to be practically not an accomplice, a companion to the lady who she works for, and he kind of just like judges her like that cheap. That's how cheap you need to be to have a companionship. He kind of sees marriage as being the exact same thing. It's ownership more than anything, and then obviously being a ghost story where they get haunted by the woman of his past. But I don't know. I thought it was just okay. I'd have to, I guess, sit with it again because I do think Ben Wheatley's a good director, but not for me. Not for me.
They can't all be hits.
You know. Let's see. I don't know if there's anything. If you see anything that pops up in the live chat that you want to shout out,
Yeah, I
definitely.
mean we've got a few questions going here. First, Darvin asked if we've seen Lake Mungo. I don't know if you've seen that one. I haven't yet.
I have not, but that is one of the most recommended ones that we get. Um, I might watch it on Halloween. To be honest with you.
There we go. So yeah, we'll get back on Lake Mungo. Devesh also asked, did you guys watch Western Stars? It's like the Kanye West film, except actually good.
That's the Springsteen one, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I don't know where he ended up releasing it, but if he didn't have two, I think yeah, it is the
Oh
Springsteen
yeah,
one, and it
yeah. I
is
haven't
over
seen that
on
one.
HBO Max.
Oh, very cool.
Let me log this one in over here, and then we'll answer a couple more stuff in the live chat. I saw this little
Cool.
doc called "Survival of the Film Freaks," that is all about cult films, and I thought it was pretty interesting. Probably the biggest person who they have on there is Sam Raimi's brother, Ted Raimi. But it was like a really cool dissection on cult films, but also the idea that it's not just a progression of cult films and how it used to be so difficult to find them, and they got their whole fan base like years later. If it wasn't in the midnight crowd, it was when it was the stuff was out on VHS or someone told you about it. But then how like when you get into the Sharknado stuff, they start reverse engineering cult films, and I thought that was a pretty good breakdown on like where the culture of cult films is right now. But they also kind of tell the whole timeline of that story with the progression of movies and how cult films
Mm.
change depending on the way that you get access to films. So if you weren't watching them in theaters because they were only playing in midnight, then that was the culture that you were in, and it was a little bit weirder. And then how VHS stores change it, and DVDs, and then streaming and torrenting, and all these different things. And I thought it was a pretty good little documentary talking about just the history of art films or cult films, mind you, and how it changes now that we have streaming because it's not the same. Now everything is accessible, and a big part of it was the hunt. And I think it does a really good breakdown of that. Anyone who grew up with the Blockbuster days knows that it is a little bit different than just scrolling through all the streaming stuff. But I really like that one. I would
Yeah.
recommend it for people who want to catch a cool documentary.
Cool. Anna Maria asked if we've seen the new Jim Cummings movie. I haven't seen this one, but I believe you got to check it out.
I did. I talked about it last week. I thought it was okay. Let's see if it pops up here. Grabbed the wrong Jim Cummings. I grabbed Winnie the Pooh. My bad. The Wolf of Snow Hollow. Yeah. I thought it was pretty decent. But I like his previous more, and I know you're not the biggest fan of his previous, so I guess the best review I could give is then you won't like this one as much. Because I thought Thunder Road was a little bit better. Let me see over here.
We have another question from Tushar if either of us have checked out any of the new Saturday Night Live episodes. I don't know how much of a Saturday Night Live fan you are generally, Art.
I haven't been a big fan of them.
Yeah.
What did one of them say recently? They got someone on record saying that they don't know what they're gonna be able to make fun of if Trump doesn't win.
No,
as president.
it was a very poorly phrased deadline
It didn't
headline.
even make
They
any
actually did a
sense.
sketch about it.
I was
They
like,
just did a
what?
sketch about
The only
it.
time
Yeah.
I'm seeing
But no,
Saturday
I
Night
think
Live is when the host trends. That's it.
right. Yeah, like there was the Bill Burr monologue that trended earlier, like maybe a month ago at this point. And
Hmm.
I think that's maybe the only bit from this season of Saturday Night Live that I've watched. But I think we're unfortunately just in an era where the cast isn't that strong. Like the last breakout star of any kind was Kate McKinnon, what feels like 5 years ago now, and she's still on the show, just
Yeah,
kind of doing those bug eye, awkward characters. Uh, I don't know. I think SNL is in a little bit of a weird spot now where they're relying a lot on celebrity cameos, whether it's
yeah.
Jim Carrey as Biden or still bringing back Alec Baldwin and Maya Rudolph now for Kamala Harris. And then they have nearly 20 people in their cast who are all kind of like relegated to the sidelines. I don't know. It also suffers a bit from that clapter thing that we talk about occasionally.
Bro. I mean,
Um,
nah, I don't want to get too Kato, but yes, yes, it definitely does. Um, but I guess it's been okay. I think depending on when they have somebody who's like really good, like when they had Gambino on and he's able to
yeah.
like give his input on some stuff, then it's a little bit funnier. Melanie asks, "Do you guys have a favorite film director this year?" We've been lucky enough to be able to
Interesting.
go to some film festivals and stuff. I don't know if you have a favorite director of the year. One of mine, as I'll continue my logging for Bad Hair over here. And if you think of one, Zach, let me know.
Sure thing.
The director of Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. I think
Ooh.
it is not the most showy. It is not the most, how I would say, it wouldn't win the Sundance Special Jury Award for directing because that, of course, would go to the director of Shirley. But just the patience that Eliza Hittman had with this movie, she's still one of the top ones in my opinion. Yeah, Like I actually want to go back and revisit a bunch of the other stuff that she's made that, and I think some of it may actually be on at least Criterion or something else. But I do want to
I
rewatch
mean, I
Beach
think
Rats.
Hulu has Beach Rats.
Does it? Hey,
Yeah,
there
because
it
it's
is. Yeah.
Neon.
Okay.
Yeah, after Never Rarely Sometimes Always came out this year, I went back and watched Beach Rats, so because I was really into Eliza Hittman's direction of it, and I've been very into her stuff. She's a good candidate for like director of the year, just because that's sort of an interesting question, right? Because
Hmm.
are you asking what's our favorite film of the year, or are you asking about the director specifically?
Yeah.
Because for me, what my mind goes to is like, who are the directors that I now want to pay attention to that I wasn't paying attention to before? And for me, that's Lee Isaac Chung, the director of Minari. Like Minari is a movie that I found to be so beautifully told, so like intimate and wonderful and funny. I rewatched it actually recently and was surprised how funny it was. That I thought, this guy is probably going to be a really interesting director for a long time.
Easily. You know the best part is now that Minardi's getting played. I know it's playing at Philly as well. So shout out to anybody who has access to the film festival. Definitely go rent Minari. There's not even a geo restriction on it at all. Go catch it. I think if it doesn't start playing tonight, it starts playing tomorrow. Highly recommend it. Yeah, I would agree with you. His Q&A that he did back at Sundance, like when the Q&A alone makes you cry, at that point you know that the
Right.
man's gonna be a storyteller, you know. And he hit it out of the park with Minari. I can't wait to catch his other ones because I haven't caught them yet. But let me see if any of these are playing over here. Someone had asked about Letterbox being only for films. It is the only TV series that get played or logged here is if it's a mini series. But I've seen some series sneak in there.
People try to cheat it, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a shame they only really do TV or excuse me, they only do movies and like TV events
Hmm.
maybe.
Yeah. But
Juan asked us if we've seen Color Out of Space from earlier this year. I believe you have.
I did. I talked about it at TIFF. I'm one of the ones who sides with it being a little bit more enjoyable than Mandy. What about you?
I still haven't caught up with it. I actually haven't even seen Mandy, man.
Really? I know for a fact that and talking over here, he's Lee Isaac Chung has a bunch of movies on Tubi, and Tubi is free. So is Canopy. So
Ooh,
shout out to those two services right there for
I
having some
gotta go
stuff there.
back and
Yeah. Which
work
movie
through
did you mention?
those. Uh, which one? Like just now, Color Out of Space, or
Color Out of Space. Color Out of Space. I am almost positive it is on Shutter. Yes, sir. And then Mandy, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it's on Shutter, but let's see if it's playing somewhere. Shutter as well. So hey, Zach, get
nice.
Shutter, and you got both of them.
Hey, I
Um,
got Shutter, so
just there
we're
you go,
perfect.
just in time for Halloween. But I know Mandy's definitely the more artistic one. It's from Panos Cosmatos, who is the son of somebody. I can't remember who, but like this man's only made two films, and his films are like an experience for sure. Not to take away from Color Out of Space, but Color Out of Space is way more on the Chong is on, isn't it? You know, like it's a
Yeah,
little bit of a different vibe. But they both got the Nick Caginess that I think people are looking for.
right, right.
As you scoop up some questions, let me log in Bad Hair because, well, not log it again because I haven't rewatched it. But it is available on Hulu now that I think it's available on Hulu or it's coming out on Hulu, right?
Yeah, no, it's available starting the end of last weekend.
There you go. Because I
Um,
know it was playing at Chicago. They had it as a part of the film fest. But one of the things I'm really curious about is that people are going to get a different cut than what we saw at Sundance because I know they changed some things. And this was the one movie where I was actually hoping for things to change a bit. So I'm very curious
right.
to see what they added. But just putting it on your guys' radar because it is out on Hulu. Um,
Yeah, and that's going to be a fun like Halloween movie watch. I know people are
yeah.
probably looking for some scary stuff and something new maybe. That's one of the better new horror options out there. It's a little bit campy and a little bit funny. It's not like straight horror. Again, this is from director Justin Simeon, who did Dear White People, so you get a sense for the kind of satirical approach he might bring
Hmm.
to material like this. But definitely a really satisfying movie. And yeah, like you, I'm curious to see what they changed because the ending felt a little bit muddy, I think, when we saw it at Sundance.
Same. I was hoping that they would tie things a little bit better and even clean up a little bit of the VFX. Meme Man says, "Did you guys like Borat?" Which has to be the movie of the week, with the
Yeah.
LME streams, and as we log everything on Letterboxd, we like to focus mainly on all the stuff that's come out recently, and I don't think anything's bigger than Borat. You know, one of the funniest things is when people make lists on Letterboxd where they just rank a franchise, and there's only two in the franchise.
Right.
But Borat, the subsequent movie film, or as it's titled over here, Delivery of Prodigious Bribe to American Regime for Make Benefit Once Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan, is the sequel to Borat. Your thoughts on the first Borat?
I mean, it's obviously a very iconic piece of comedy, especially for what it is. Sacha Baron Cohen is perhaps the best at this sort of cringe style prank comedy, which is not really a type of comedy that I respond to often, but I think he tends to elevate it to the form of art. Just the way he's able to manipulate people and trick people into revealing aspects of their worst selves as a way of sort of commenting on America, I think is really interesting. And just how out there the humor was in the first one is obviously super memorable. But I was very doubtful of his ability to spin Borat into a new film over a decade later. And for me, I was very pleasantly surprised. I don't know how you feel.
I think it worked beautifully. Alina had not seen the first one, so we caught them back to back. And again, I think the characters that he creates are genius. All the way back from the Ali G show to it was a Showtime or was it HBO where he's got the America show where he was also doing the exact same thing where he records these things and then immediately puts it out there so that the people who he's recorded can try to like put an injunction on it to stop the release. And I know this one was released a little bit earlier, and as we know, some of the biggest plot points, if they weren't leaked earlier in the year, like I remember hearing about the one where he was at the rally and he was playing his music. There was also the Giuliani bit that everyone was talking about before the movie was out on
to the police.
Yeah, it was out on Amazon Prime, but I enjoyed the second one as well. I actually want to work on a longer video talking about just like what makes Borat work and how a lot of people missed the joke. Like a lot of people think it's just the wah wah wee was and the character itself that's funny, but it's like no, he's supposed to be this outlandish character, comes to America and realizes that he's not the craziest thing in this country. I think it's genius filmmaking. I think the only thing that changed the second time around, my only criticism would be, it's my same thing with parody films. We stopped making parody films because of the flip, to film it and then release it. YouTube videos are already out there that are making the parody jokes way faster, and the scary movies and disaster movies and all those ones, they kind of went through the wayside because of that. The prank movie, I think, is also there. I mean, just to talk about this one, a lot of it leaked before you actually got to see it in the movie. And I think that's like the biggest battle that he faces when making these characters because he's so well known. And especially the targets that he goes for, they leak out beforehand. But
right. Yeah, especially in the smartphone era, it just becomes so much harder to do the kind of thing he's doing, which I think to me is another reason to commend him for the film being as surprising and funny as it was, that he was able to pull it off, also pull it off in the age of coronavirus and under lockdowns, to be as relevant as it was, I think is surprising and hilarious. Did you have any favorite moments from Borat's subsequent movie film?
My favorite bit from Borat's subsequent movie film, I'm not going to lie, I don't think it's my favorite, but I keep laughing at the cake bit where she eats the cupcake and they go to the doctor. I'm not even gonna call that man a doctor. They go to the person who gives them like advice, and I was like, I don't know. I thought that whole bit was goofy because of the guy's face. What about you?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite bits as well. The fertility dance is obviously just like ridiculous and hilarious, and just the kind of thing where it makes you wonder how these performers are even willing to put themselves in those positions, like the shamelessness you must have as an actor to do that stuff. And maybe this is a good part to shout out Maria Bakalova, who
Killed
is
it.
absolutely phenomenal in this movie, hilarious as Borat's daughter. One thing that I didn't mention about the 2006 Borat is that I think a big reason why that movie works is because he's paired with that producer character who's also just like
Hmm.
as outrageous as he is. And here he's able to recapture that energy with his daughter character played by Maria Bakalova, and it's that she's able to meet his comedic energy and ridiculousness
Says a
is
lot.
part of what sells the whole world.
Agreed. I know a lot of people in the chat were kind of split between it. Some people hated it. Some people thought
Yeah.
Borat's now doing propaganda. But someone had asked, Danny said, what is your least favorite movie of the year so far? Zach, I don't know if you have one. Now, this isn't like what I think is the worst movie. Question is, what is your least favorite? Least favorite.
Least
That means you
favorite.
do not favorite it. You have one?
Interesting. Interesting. I have to go through my lists because I've tried to keep track of it, and there's
Downhill.
been a couple this year that are really really frustrating. What's your least favorite? I think I know what my least favorite is too.
Downhill by Nat Faxon and Jim Rash, who I actually do like their stuff, but I
Yeah.
have no idea what this was. I'm not even going to go watch.
Force Majeure.
I swear if I spelled it wrong. But go watch Force Majeure. The original. My Wi-Fi is also low. Um, just superior in every way, shape, or form. Not just because it's the original, but because it's not Americanized, I guess. Sadly, the best way that I could put it. And it is available on all these streaming platforms right here for you to watch. Tubi for free, Canopy if you got your library, Hulu if you got it. But yeah, it's definitely way better. That would be one of the most disappointing ones that I had this year for sure. Downhill. What
Is
about you?
it that disappointing for you because the movie itself is bad, or because it's such a downgrade from Force Majeure?
It's such a downgrade. I believe that it ruins a lot of the themes by not having the nuance that it had. Like one of the biggest,
Agreed.
this was one of the first videos that I made way back in the day, and I remember people telling me that I was, you're an idiot, for the way that I took the mom's character, and they're like, you read it completely wrong. Then years later, a movie comes out called Downhill, and it literally has the mom character explain the entire like theme premise. And it's like in the original they didn't have that. They just it was all in the actor's eyes. It was all in their performance. And here it's just like they just say everything for you. And yeah, I was very disappointed. I was flabbergasted. And then all my boys come from Sundance with the official Downhill gear, and I'm like, at first I was upset that I didn't even have the merch, but then I caught the movie afterwards, and I don't know, I was too disappointed. But I don't want to talk about Downhill anymore. Zach, tell me your least favorite.
Uh, Downhill's bad, but I don't
Yep.
even know if that gets into my bottom 5, 10. Um, I was also disappointed in Wendy because I like Beast of the Southern Wild, and that was
Hmm.
not great from Ben Zeitlin. We talked about Antebellum recently, which is
Ooh.
a pretty terrible movie with a pretty awful execution of its twists. But I got to go back to Sundance for what I think is my actual least favorite of the year, The Last Thing He Wanted, the latest
Oh,
from director Dee Reese, who is a director we like and a director we had big hopes for. But this adaptation of, I believe, a Joan Didion novel is just absolutely awful. It's incomprehensible. It feels like several movies stitched together poorly. At one point, they blow up a dog for no
no
reason,
reason.
and basically at that point, I could not forgive the movie. I just thought it was awful. Yeah, I don't know, man. That Alina and I saw that one together, and I think we were both really eager to leave the theater.
Yeah, I was not a fan of this one either. And it dragged too. That's the sad part. It just
Yeah,
dragged a bit.
yeah,
But hey, what you gonna do? Now I know you've seen this. Sounders Forever says, "Have you seen Queen's Gambit?" I know I
yeah.
can't log it in
We've got
here,
a
but
we have a few people. Actually, it is. I believe it is on Letterboxd because it's a limited
really?
series. Yes.
All right, let me check that out. But talk
Um,
about it.
Yeah, so a few people are actually asking about Queen's Gambit. It's the new
Oh, there it is.
miniseries from Netflix. It stars Anya Taylor-Joy as a bit of like a chess prodigy, growing up in an orphanage in the 1950s in Kentucky. And as she grows up, she travels the world, meets interesting people. This one comes from writer-director Scott Frank, who is a really interesting dude. I didn't see his more recent contribution to Netflix, Godless, but I know we were
Mm,
talking about that one.
looks
But
great.
my man is the guy who wrote Logan. He wrote Minority Report. He co-wrote Out of Sight, the Steven Soderbergh movie. He also directed The Lookout with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So he's a super talented writer, and I think here he really he just has that handle of like the dialogue, the snappiness. There's like an energy and a movement to this show. The editing is quick and scenes don't drag. And also, I think there's just something really fun about watching a 9-year-old girl steamroll dudes at chess. Like it's just cool. I really liked this show. I was with it the whole way. The way that she sort of uh, has to balance her troubled past and reconcile with that in order to become this, achieve this greatness that people see in her. I think it was just really well executed and really interesting. Anya is so good on this show, and I think she's just a very dynamic presence. It's my favorite role from Anya Taylor-Joy so far. So for
Really?
me, for me, I was super pleasantly surprised. I burned through this show.
All right.
Liked it quite a lot.
I'm gonna have to check this one or finish it because I saw the first episode, but then I had 73 other movies to to watch.
Yeah, it
But
is
all right,
virtual
thumbs up
film
for that.
fest season. Yep.
Tushar says, Art, are you going to expand your Criterion collection? I know you have Portrait. Zach, do you have any Criterion collections? I do want to expand mine. I know Parasite comes out this upcoming week. What about you? Do
Yeah.
you have any?
I know Tushar's probably seen us talk about our criterions on the Intercut podcast. I showed off my Do the Right Thing criterion there. I have a Punch Drunk Love criterion there. I think I have uh, Royal Tenenbaums on
Really?
criterion as well. Yeah,
Oh,
but I gotta expand that to some new stuff. I'm thinking about picking up that Minding the Gap criterion once that
how
drops.
could you not?
Yeah, I mean that's my
uh,
that's my boy Blue right there.
Franny
I've
says,
got a few questions.
what are your thoughts on Swiss Army Man? And all I
Oh,
have to do is direct you over to our A24 bracket that we did over on Intercut Pod. But big thumbs up. We're huge fans. We didn't even
yeah,
know how big fans we were of Swiss Army Man. But yeah, big
yeah.
thumbs up for both of us.
We are big fans of the Daniels and that movie, and any chance we can get to talk about a farting corpse movie, we will
Yes,
take it.
sir. Connor had asked about Black Bear. They just caught it at the Montclair Film Fest. You ever been to the Montclair Film Fest, Zach?
Yeah, I actually rented Minari and Black Bear from there.
I really like this one. Zach liked it so much, I think you rewatched it.
Yeah, yeah. I rewatched it. I wanted to check it out again. It's a really interesting movie. I love the way that it kind of has like a first half, second half that is a bit of a funhouse mirror of itself. The way they're able to take certain ideas and sort of blow them up and put them back together again. I thought it was fascinating. And then you got these really great performances in there from Aubrey Plaza and Chris Abbott. Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I like I forget the director's name, Michael Levine, Jonathan Levine, something
Lawrence
like that.
Michael Levine. He's
Lawrence
done
Michael
Wild
Levine
Canaries and Gabby on the Roof in July.
also wrote Always Shine. And I think all of his movies have this thing of like this psychological
Ooh.
grating quality where he likes to watch his characters sort of break down and be pushed to their limits, which I find fascinating.
All right. So big thumbs up on that one. If you have not caught that one, definitely go check it out.
Definitely.
Abel had asked about The Witches. I haven't caught that one yet because we're still in the midst of all of the of the film festival stuff. But it's on my radar. I'm gonna be watching the original and that one back to back. Devesh says, not really a movie, but something very narrative based. Did you guys start Play the Last of Us 2, and what did you think of it? I think we both finished it. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it, but I didn't love it as much as the first one.
Yeah, I think the first one was maybe a little bit. I think I responded more to the story of the first one
Mm-hmm.
than this one, but yeah, it's a good game. I think maybe my experience of it is a little bit different because I actually watched Caitlin play it. I didn't play it myself, so uh, I didn't feel the
You
toll
do
of
the
having to
murder.
watch all the death scenes and stuff.
Yeah. Tushar had asked, have we seen Saint Maud yet? I have not, but that is one of the movies that is way high up in my list. We had missed this one back in the TIFF days of 2019. You know, the before times. But I'm really excited for this one. They need to release it.
Juan asked our thoughts on Spike Jones.
Ooh, you want to talk about some of your favorite movies of all time?
I mean, he's a super cool director. I like him quite a bit. Part of what I like about him is not even his film directing, but just he helped launch Jackass. He helped launch Vice
Yep.
Media. He has directed some of the coolest music videos of all time. I've watched that Christopher Walken dancing in a hotel video like who knows how many times. But I also really love just how daring of a filmmaker he is. Adaptation is just such an interesting uh world that like collapses in on itself, and yeah, a lot of that is Charlie Kaufman's writing, but Spike Jones brings it to life in a way that's really exciting. And then Her is just a really beautiful movie about the way that he's able to take what a lot of people viewed as like a joke premise and get to some really profound, deeply emotional places is pretty remarkable.
Yep. Someone had asked, "Have we seen Corpus Christi?" And this was at the top of my list from TIFF last year. One of my favorite movies. Even went all the way to the Oscars. Highly recommend this one. I don't know if you ever did. You ever get to catch Corpus Christi?
No, I didn't.
Highly
The
recommend
Polish
it.
film.
Yeah, they were letting
Yeah.
us know that it's actually on Criterion right now. So it's on the
Mhm.
Criterion channel. So if you wanted to catch it, definitely do. It was interesting because I ended up catching Hater. I think it's or The Hater, which is on Netflix. And I know a lot of people recommending it. Very effective movie when it comes to social media and like taking taking over smear tactics and stuff. But yeah, the guy is on a roll. He has been releasing like back to back to back stuff, and yeah, he even was able to get the Oscar nomination for Corpus Christi. But I would highly recommend it. So that's a really good one to put on the radar.
Definitely. A couple people I think were asking if we've seen Pink Skies Ahead. I think that movie is doing the
Mm-hmm.
festival rounds now, written and directed by Kelly Oxford, who's a pretty big name on Twitter, but I believe this is her directorial debut.
I'll
I
be
haven't caught it
catching.
yet. I don't know if you did.
Yeah, I'm gonna catch it in a couple of days. I know it's doing Philly, so that's gonna be an interesting one. I'm excited to catch that one.
All right, cool. So worth checking in on the next Letterbox Monday.
Mm-hmm. Tushar had asked that they had just seen Last Night in Miami at I want to say Chicago. Great directorial debut from Regina King. Now here's the one thing that I want to mention for you because not a lot of people have seen this one yet. Your favorite performance is
Kingsley Benadir as Malcolm X.
mm-hmm. I'm
What
waiting
about
for this
you?
to load up over here. Um, if I'm not mistaken, it was Leslie Odom Jr. who played
Sam
Jim
Cooke.
Brown, right? Or Sam Cooke,
No,
sorry.
no, no.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
Killed it. I think he was the best one, easily. I feel that when the movie actually comes out, like if this bad boy was playing in theaters, they would have loved the dude who was playing Cassius Clay. I think people would like come out
Eli
raving his
Goree.
name,
Yeah.
you know. But they're all stacked, dude. Every single person in here, the dude who played Malcolm X absolutely killed it. Though the
It's
way
the
the
kind of
directing,
it's the kind of movie where if it got 4 acting nominations, I
right?
wouldn't be upset.
Yeah, highly recommend that one. I think it's done with the rounds. I'm not sure what who else is playing it. I know Chicago is playing it, and I think maybe AFI may have had it, but hopefully this one. I think it's coming out. Hopefully it gets like I don't know if it's gonna
Yeah,
get a streaming release or a theater release of some
it does
kind,
seem
but
like they want it to be a player in the Oscars this year, so I figure
mhm,
it will get some kind of release, whether that's virtual or theatrical.
yeah.
But yeah, One Night in Miami, Regina King, definitely worth checking out. I thought it was pretty great. Uh, we actually haven't had a chance to talk about this yet. How did you
Mhm.
feel about it as an adaptation of a play? Because I know that's something that you sometimes take issue with,
Worked so well.
right?
It works so well. There was only little moments here and there, but I thought again the directing and the camera work, while most of it takes place in one room, I thought they did a really great job of adapting it into a movie, and you didn't really feel the staginess of it, I guess.
Hmm.
But it is very dialogue heavy, and it's again a movie that needed these very strong performances, and I think it's gonna be a contender. The complete opposite, though, is that we got a recommendation about After. I don't know if you've ever heard of After. I do want to make a full one on these, but After and the newest one that they have now, I believe it's Ever After or something like that. I'd have to check over here. After and After We Collided. it's rom-coms or not rom-coms, YA. Nah, it's not even a YA because I don't think it's a novel. It's a one of those fiction books that got turned into an actual movie, and I believe it was originally about One Direction, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
It's a franchise now, Zach. So if you have not caught on it, make sure you hop on after and after we collided. That is one that I want to do a whole like LME goofs on it, but we'll see.
Cool,
Someone
cool.
had asked about a couple of movies. We have one for Paris, Texas.
Yeah, I haven't seen. I believe that's the Wim Wenders classic,
Hmm.
but
It
I
is
have not seen that one.
beautiful looking movie. I had actually was able to rent this off the Criterion. My library had like a whole Criterion section. I'm showing after over here, but Paris, Texas is one of the most beautiful looking films. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, that's one of those movies that when you look it up on Letterboxd, all your friends have given it like 4 stars, 4.5 stars, five
Hmm.
stars.
Yeah, it's a really good one,
Someone asked if you can talk about Blackpink Light Up the Sky. Did you catch the Netflix documentary on Blackpink?
bro. I actually did. Um, I knew nothing of them, but I respect the hustle and the work ethic. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's fantastic. I know Twitter did a great job of promoting this just on their own. Like they already had the word of mouth, but then Netflix actually put a little bit of marketing for them. I was seeing billboards around town. I was getting a lot of ads for it online, but no, it's really interesting to see just how the K-pop scene has blown up, and really the idea that it's just pop, but how people are
Mhm.
able to just add the K in front of it when they need to, when they want to subjugate it, but at the same time they've learned how much money there is there. You know, something that was kind of just subjected into being a side category of pop, but not pop, has now become even bigger than the U.S. pop scene that we have over here. But no, I thought it was a pretty good breakdown of following them as a group and just their like artistic journey and stuff. And it, it adds to the streaming wars aspect of it because I know Netflix also has what's his name, Wonder, um, Canadian boy who's coming out with his
Shawn
Sean
Mendes?
Mendes. I love how you knew who I was talking about. Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
Sean Mendes has a doc coming out, right? And it's almost like everyone is fighting. The Jonas Bros, they got picked up by Amazon, so Amazon is doing their stuff. But
Hmm.
Netflix got Beyonce. Netflix got these guys right here. Netflix, you know, it's almost like a fight on who's going to be getting the music documentary because it's not just um, the person, the personality, but it's also that specific project. Um, and then I'm assuming that it's like a carried through deal. You know, whoever's gonna cover the one documentary for the making of that album will probably get the future ones. Um, so it's
Right.
interesting. Yeah, those 360 deals afoot.
Do you recommend Blackpink? I mean, you're not somebody who's like super familiar with the world of K-pop.
No,
It was still interesting to you despite that?
yeah, easily. They kept mentioning YG, and I was like, YG the rapper? No, 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 completely different YG. That's just to show you how much I didn't know anything about them. But no, it's a pretty good breakdown. I think it does a really good job at exploring each one of them as artists, and then like just a breakdown that they go through. Think of it kind of like the One Direction doc, I guess,
Right.
and how it kind of broke down how they all came together to create this group, and then became way bigger than they would have thought it was. But yeah, pretty good.
Crimson asked Crimson asked if you've watched the TV show Torchwood.
I've not seen the TV show Torchwood, but if you recommend it, another one to add on to the list.
We also got a question. What's your favorite horror franchise? A good Halloween time question.
Ooh, do you have one?
I'm not super into franchise horror. Like I like a lot of the one-offs, and you know,
Oh,
you're the witches and your hereditaries,
yeah,
and but if I have to go with it, like maybe The Conjuring,
it's a
because
good
I
one.
like The Conjuring 2.
I don't know if you saw they had a report where they put stuff on a bunch of people to see what the scariest movie of the year or of all time was, and James Wan came back with the highest heart rate peaking on the movies that people saw. I don't know how accurate all that stuff is, but
Very cool.
he was considered one of the scariest directors. Um, but for me, if we're talking about franchises, it's got to go back to Wes Craven's Scream. I don't think anything has been more consistent. I mean, now they even got a TV series that people really love. I don't think they've ever had a terrible, terrible movie. I think each movie tries to do something a little bit different, even when it feels redundant. I know they're bringing it back. I am super excited for it. I love a lot of the other slasher iconic franchises, but I think Scream always does something very interesting. And then I would follow it up with Friday the 13th because I think they also do a lot of cool stuff.
Devesh asked if we've seen Prince Avalanche. It's a 2013 movie
Paul Rudd,
by
right?
the guy David Gordon Green directed that one. Paul Rudd is in it. Emil Hirsch is in it. They play highway road workers in 1988. And it's mostly a movie where they just kind of like have conversations about life and such, if I remember correctly. I remember not responding super strongly to this one. It seemed a little bit like limited in its scope.
Um, it reminds me. I think there's like a scope of movie where again I don't rate it because I don't hate it,
Right.
but what else came out this year? I'm gonna laugh if it also was David Gordon Green. No, it is not. Yeah, he went on to make Stronger, surprisingly. And our brand is Crisis. That's very interesting. But the two that came out earlier this year, one of them would have been the Unicorn Store, which someone brought up last week
Hmm.
on the stream. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a terrible movie, um, but it's like it's trying to live in its own world. The other one would have been Horse Girl as well, that came out at Sundance this year. You know, it's like
Right.
it's living in a pocket of the storyteller's perspective, the storyteller's world. It just doesn't click with me, but I get it clicking with other people. So I would kind of put those movies in the same vein, where just because it didn't work for me, I can kind of see, what it does for other people.
Yeah, totally. Uh, Hafsa asked if we've ever watched Guns Akimbo.
I did. I covered it. I know it premiered at TIFF. It had a little bit of a controversy,
A little bit.
a little bit when it was coming out, but I think it's okay. I'm more forward looking to Free Guy and seeing what happens there when it comes to walking around with weapons. But here it's Daniel Radcliffe literally loaded up with guns for arms because they get attached to him, and he's practically getting live streamed. It was okay. It was all right.
Yeah, I skipped that
Interesting little
one.
tiff.
Devesh also asked us if we've seen Super from 2010, the James Gunn one. Devesh mentions that James Gunn was talking a little bit about it on Twitter this weekend, I believe. If I saw the same thing that Devesh saw, he was talking a little bit about killing characters and how fans sometimes respond very negatively to that, but how he has to do it anyway. And fans and actors sometimes respond negatively to that, and a lot of people
He's
were
lied.
speculating: does that mean he's going to kill somebody off in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but I don't think that's what he meant.
Yeah. Super's good. I like Super. It's not gonna be for everybody, and I think one of the biggest things is James Gunn in his early years. You would have never expected would be hired by
No.
Marvel to make a franchise. But I like this one, and I know it has some connections also to Brightburn as well, which came out last year, and I know a lot of people like that one as well. Let's see. Someone had asked about Time to Hunt. I don't know if you've seen this one. I haven't caught it yet, but I know it's over on Netflix. Um, and it
Yeah, I haven't seen that
stars
one yet.
one of the dudes from Parasite as well. Four young men who want to leave their dystopian world behind and go to a distant paradise execute a money robbery, a daring act that will have unexpected consequences. This is one that I want to catch up on soon. It was actually when I saw Hater that I think this one had also appeared over on Netflix, but one that I definitely do have on my radar. Someone had asked, not a movie, but have you seen the new show Utopia? Yeah, I've actually mentioned Utopia in the last three live streams as well. I recommend, even though I haven't even seen it, the original version though. Definitely watch the original one.
What's the original one?
It's in the UK.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize he was an adaptation even.
Yeah, but the original's way better. Let's see. I have a couple
Dawson.
more mentioning Pixie.
Yeah, I think that was Devesh as well.
Pixie by Barnaby Thompson, who has done a couple of other movies, Duology as well. To avenge her mother's death, Pixie masterminds a heist but must flee across Ireland from gangsters, take on the patriarchy, and choose her own destiny. And it stars Olivia Cook.
Hmm.
I have not seen this one
Interesting.
yet.
Dawson asked us, do you like movies more independent or movies made by big studios?
Probably independent for sure. Zach's really
Yeah,
big into the studio system. The more money Zach thinks, the the better.
if it's not based on a comic book, why would I watch it?
Why even watch it? Yeah. No, definitely the more independent route. I think that's one of the big reasons why we scope out film festivals and such, because many times you don't even know which one's going to get the distribution and actually get bought. And it's in those film festivals where that may be the only time that people see it in a theater, you know?
Absolutely.
Let's see, I'll answer a couple more, then wrap it up. Tushar had asked, have you checked out the Next Best Picture or the Big Picture pods?
Next Best Picture, I believe, is our buddy Matt Neglia's podcast. So shouts to Matt. I don't listen to him regularly, but I'm a big fan of the Big Picture podcast, part of the Ringer.
One?
Yeah. Sean Fennessy, Amanda Dobbins on there. I think they always have good discussions and are able to bring in larger ideas about the entertainment industry into their discussions of new releases and stuff like that. I really liked their David Fincher rankings recently, and yeah, it's good, great podcast if you like movie stuff.
That was dope. It was good. Did you ever get to finish watching Grand Army?
No, I saw we got a question about that though.
I got to talk about it a little bit last week. I'll make a full review, but I was more positive on it. There's some controversy also going on behind the scenes, as every Netflix movie or series is going to have, but I gave it a thumbs up.
Did you talk about, I don't know how far along you were last week, but when we filmed Intercut, you hadn't watched the last 2 episodes yet. Did that change your mind at all? I know you really liked the last shot of the first season.
I really liked the final shot, what they were going for, and it's gonna be very interesting to see how they cover a season 2, because they do bring up COVID, so we'll see.
Here's a good question though. What's the better final shot, the first season of Grand Army or the first season of Euphoria?
Zach, shut up! It's Euphoria. Shut up. That was no. Let's see, Barry Vegan has. So that's a couple more, then we'll go head out. Shiva Baby. Yes, it is still playing at New Fest, and I think Zach caught it as well and enjoyed it.
Yeah, might be my favorite out of New Fest. I think it's a really interesting movie. I think Rachel Sennett is really great in it. I think it's got a very keen, observant eye for how people interact and like the awkwardness of those types of family get-togethers. Something random about that movie that I like is I think a lot of times you'll see movies where like the family gets together after a long time and it's in this like big house with a lot of space, and that movie gets across I think the more realistic version of those types of get-togethers where everybody's crammed into tight rooms and you have to sneak your way around awkwardly around people, and just that feels so lived in and true to life. So I liked that a lot too.
I loved this movie. This movie. Yeah, I thought it was incredible. So I'm definitely going to end it with that being the recommendation. But people in the live chat have been giving us a recommendation as well. Another round. I'm going to leave y'all with Shiva Baby. Check it out if you can. It's playing still at Indie Memphis. It's still playing at New Fest, if I'm not mistaken. But Thomas Vinterberg's got a new movie out. Oh, it's already on my watch list. Look at that. So I have not caught this one yet, but I believe it was playing some of the festivals. It's from the director who has done... I think I caught his last one at TIFF as well. And I had mentioned, Curse came out last TIFF as in 2019. So I think this one was also showing. Again, it starts Mads Mikkelsen. But no, I have not seen this one yet. But excited to catch it. Hopefully soon.
Definitely.
But no,
it's been getting great reviews.
Yeah, and he's the boy. Last week I had mentioned a movie. I got my my countries mixed up between Denmark and what was Dutch and what was what, and I was like, The Hunt. Whether that's from there or not, I highly recommend that one. But no, thank you guys for joining us this week. Not too many movies that we caught from the most recent ones. I know Over the Moon and Witches was out, but definitely leave your recommendations down below for the LME streams, and we'll catch you next Monday where we're going to be logging a couple more stuff. And stay tuned for Intercut where we're going to be logging a bunch of the stuff that we've been watching at the festivals. So again, if you head on over to Letterboxd, I've been compiling my little list over here on all the virtual film festivals that I've been catching. I just finished Chicago, so I'm going to be updating the list with the ones that I caught from there. Still got Philly, still got Indie Memphis, still got New Fest, and still got all the other screeners that people are sending us. But then it's back to work, hoping to get a lot more uploads on all throughout November and December as well. And just get some more movies on your radar. But head on over to Intercut as well, where we've also been talking a lot of the festival picks a little bit early. But thanks again, Zach, for joining in over here. I don't know if you have any other recommendations or things to add to the chat.
No, man. Just thanks for everybody for sticking around and throwing us some questions. We'll be back again next week, and yeah, catch the Intercut podcast if you're looking for some deeper dives into different movies. I know a few people have been asking about Bly Manor, and
Mm-hmm.
we talked about that plenty on the latest episode. So make sure to check that one out.
The LME's coming soon. The LME's coming soon. But we got a whole intricate over there. We went through the whole box that they sent us, and I'm pretty sure my house is haunted. But just in time for Halloween. There you go. But yeah, I'm going to try to update the links. Definitely check out some festival pics if you can. But until next time, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later.